Chapter 9, Shooting Match. Omri put the cowboy and the horse in his sock drawer while he had the quickest supper on record. Then he raced upstairs again, stopping only to pinch a few grains of Gillian's rat feed for the two horses. Shut up in his room, he took stock. A room this size was kind of like an indoor national park to the cowboy and the Indian. It should be easy enough to keep them apart for at least one night. Omri thought first of putting the new pair straight back in the cupboard and then bringing him back to life in the next morning in time for school, but he promised Patrick he would not do that. So he decided to empty out the dressing up crate and put the cowboy and the horse there for the night. The crate was about 2 feet square, made of planks. There was certainly no visible way of the cowboy ever getting out. Omri put him down into it, looking down at him. He felt curious about his name, where had he come from, and so on. But he decided it was better not to talk to him. The cowboy had clearly decided that Omri was not really there at all. When his hand reached out down, carrying some of the cold stew and the grain for the horse, some fragments of apple for both of them, and later some cotton wool and scraps for material for bedding, the cowboy deliberately covered his eyes, pulling down his hat brim. It was only when Omri reached in one final time to give him a drink of water in the minute green glass bottle that he had found in the bathroom cupboard that the cowboy spoke a word. "Take that filthy stuff out of here," he suddenly shouted in a strong Texas accent. "I ain't gonna drink no more of that long there as I live." And he heaved the whole bottle, which was almost as big as himself, up by the base and tipped over its contents onto the boards, onto the bottom of the crate. "It's only water," Omri ventured to say. "You shut your mouth," shouted the little man. "I won't take no lip from no gol-darn hallucination. No, sir. Maybe I do drink too much. Maybe I ain't a hold of my liquor, but there's no them way that you are reals. I need to be a tough guy. But if I'm getting these delirium memes and starting to see things, why can't I see pink elephants, dancing rats, and them purty things that other fellas see when they gets gone? It ain't fair to me that I see giants and blue deserts that put you in a box the size of the Grand Canyon with no more than a little horse for a company." He sat down on a pile of hay, took the horse's nose in his arms, and put his face against it and began to sob. Omri was shattered. A crying cowboy? He didn't know what to do. When his mother cried, he did as she did sometimes when things got too much. She said she just wanted to be left alone. Well, maybe that's how all grown-ups were like that. So Omri just turned away. He got slowly into his pajamas. Then he went to go see how Little Bear was getting along with the far sides of his crate. He finished the painting his teepee. It looked really good. Little Bear was now in the longhouse arranging his blanket for night. The pony was tethered to the post on a long rope. Omri took the rat food and gave him some and called out Little Bear. "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" He should have known better than to ask. "Plenty. Want fire in longhouse. Keep warm. Keep animals away. Want tomahawk." "Ha! So you can chop off my legs?" Omri, angry when I say that. "Sorry now. Use tomahawk to cut trees, chop firewood, kill fish." "What fish?" Little Bear replied with a very good imitation of a fish swimming. Then he did a mime of catching it and then putting it onto a block with a whirl of his arm, then chopping it up with gleeful relish. "Oh, I don't know about that. You get tomorrow fish from plastic. Good tools. Buy fire. But fire now, Chief Little Bear say." Omri sighed and he went to the waste paper basket. He picked up the remains of the fire that he had thrown away in there. There was quite a lot of firelighter left, so he gathered up some and put them bits of willow bark and twigs for Little Bear so that he had been working on. "You're not having it inside there, though. That's too dangerous." So he arranged the fire and packed earth on the sea tray about 6 inches from the entrance of the longhouse. First moving the teepee to safety, then he struck a match, and soon there was a cozy blaze. Little Bear crouched beside it, his red skin glowing and his eyes with pleasure. Little Bear, can you dance? Yes, many kinds. Would you do one now so I can see? He hesitated and shook his head once. Why not, though? No reason to dance. Maybe if you get a wife? Then the Indian looked up eagerly. You get? Give word? I'd say I try. Little Bear, dance. Do the best dance. Love dance. Omri turned his light and drew back from the scene, and he looked amazingly real, with the fire making sounds and little horse munching his grass, the Indian sitting on his heels warming himself, wearing his colorful headdress and his chief's cloak. Omri wished he himself were small enough to sit there enjoying Little Bear by the fire. Omri! Are you in bed? I'm coming up in 5 minutes to kiss you goodnight. Omri felt panicky all of a sudden, but it was all right. The fire was going out already, and Little Bear was standing up, yawning, stretching, and he peered up through the darkness. Hey, Omri, painting's good? Great. You sleep now? Yes. Great spirits be with you. Thanks. Same to you. Omri peered into the crate. The poor cowboy had crawled away into his makeshift bed and was now snoring loudly. He hadn't eaten a thing. Omri sighed. He hoped Patrick was making plans for his arrangements. After all, Omri could keep his Indian a secret. Maybe Patrick might be able to do the same. All night might yet be well, but Omri certainly wasn't going to try the experiment again. It was all just too much worry. So he climbed into bed, feeling unusually tired, and Mother came and kissed him, and the door was shut. He felt himself drifting away almost immediately when suddenly he heard the whinny sounds, and it was answered by another. The horses had smelled each other. Well, they were not so far apart, and the cowboy wasn't tied up. Omri could hear the little hooves clattering on the bare boards of the crate. Then, when the whinnies began again, a high shrill, almost questioningly, Omri thought of putting the light on, but he was awfully tired. Besides, what could he do? They couldn't possibly reach each other, though the planks of the crate through the plank wall. Let them whinny their heads off. They'd soon get tired of it. So Omri rolled over and fell asleep. He was awakened just after dawn by shots. He was out of the bed in a fifth of a second. One glance to the crate showed him all too clearly that the cowboy had gotten loose and escaped. The second glance showed how a knot of wood had been pushed out, perhaps kicked out by the horse, leaving an oval-shaped hole like an arched doorway, just big enough to let the horse rider through. Omri looked around wildly. At first he could see nothing. Then he dropped to his knees beside the seed box, peered into the longhouse. Little Bear was not there, nor was his horse. Suddenly, some tiny thing whizzed past Omri's ear and stuck into the crate behind him with a ping. Twisting his head, Omri saw it. A feathered arrow the size of a pin, still quivering from its flight. Was Little Bear shooting at him? Little Bear, where are you? No answer, but suddenly a movement like that of a mouse caught the corner of his eye. It was the cowboy dragging his horse behind him. He was running half bent over, and from behind one chair leg to another. He had his revolver in one hand and his hat in the other, hat on his head. Another arrow flew by, missing the crate this time and burying itself in the carpet. Just ahead of the running cowboy, who stopped dead, jumped backward till his horse hit him, and then fired another 2 shots from behind the horse's shoulder. Omri, following his aim, spotted Little Bear once. He and his horse were behind a small heap of cloth, which looked like a snow-covered mountain hill to them, but it was actually Omri's vest that he had dropped carelessly on the floor the night before. Little Bear, safe in the shelter of his cotton mountain, was just preparing to shoot another arrow at the cowboy, one that could hardly fail to hit its mark. The poor fellow was now scrambling desperately onto the horse to try to ride away, and was in full sight of the Indian as he drew back his bow. Little Bear, stop. Omri's frenzied voice rang out, but Little Bear did not stop. But, to his surprise, it spoiled his aim, and the arrow sped up just over the cowboy's head, doing no worse than sweeping away his big hat and pinned it to the baseboard behind the chair. This infuriated the man, who, forgetting his fear, stood up in his stirrups and shouted, "Tarnation, I'll take you, you red varmint. Wait till I catch you getting your redskins, you red hide, for a sleeping bag." With that, he strode again towards West Hill at full gallop, shouting out strange cowboy war cries, waving his gun, which then, to Omri's count, still had 2 bullets in it. Little Bear had not expected this, but he was only outfaced for a moment. Then he coolly drew another arrow back in his quiver, ready to draw his bow. "Little Bear, if you shoot, I will pick you up and I will squeeze you," cried Omri. Little Bear kept pointing his arrow on the oncoming horse. "What you do if he shoot?" he asked. "He won't shoot. Look at him." Sure enough, the carpet was too soft for much galloping, and even as Omri spoke, the cowboy's horse stumbled, and he fell, pitching the rider way over his head. Little Bear lowered the bow, laughed, and then, to Omri's horror, had laid down the bow and took up his knife and was running towards the prostrate cowboy. "Little Bear, what are you going? You're not going to touch him. Do you hear me?" Little Bear stopped. "He tried to shoot Little Bear. White enemy. Take Indian's land. Why not kill? Better dead. I act quick. He not feel it. You see." And again, he started moving forward again. He then was nearly to the cowboy, and Omri swooped him up. He didn't squeeze him, of course, but he did lift him high into the air, high enough for him to give him a fright. "Listen to me now. That cowboy isn't after you. He's not got anything to do with you. He's Patrick's cowboy, like you're my Indian. I'm taking him to school today with me, and you won't be bothered by him any more. Now you take your horse and go back to your longhouse and leave him to me." Little Bear, sitting cross-legged on the palm of his hand, gave him a sly look. "You take him to school? Place you learn about ancestors?" "That's what I said." He folded his arms, offended. "Why you not take Little Bear?" Omri startled into silence. "If white fool with coward face good enough, Indian chief good enough, you wouldn't enjoy it. If he enjoy, I enjoy." "I'm not taking you. It's too risky." Risky? Firewater? Not whiskey. Risky. Dangerous. I shouldn't have said that, because Little Bear's eyes lit up. "Like danger. Here too quiet. No hunting. Him only enemy." And he scornfully peering over the edge of Omri's hand at the cowboy, who sat, despite his softness on the landing place, was only just scrambling to his feet. "Look here. Look. He no use for fight. Little Bear soon kill. Take scalp. Finish off. Very good scalp," he added generously. "Fine color. Look good on belt." Omri looked across at the cowboy. He was leaning his ginger head against his saddle. It looked as if he might be crying again. Omri felt so sorry for him. "You're not going to hurt him," he said to the Indian, "because I won't let you. If he's such a coward, it wouldn't do you honor or any good anyway." Little Bear's face fell and grew mullish. "No tell from scalp on belt if he coward or brave man," he said slyly. "Let me kill. I do dance around campfire," he coaxed. "No," Omri began, and he changed his tactics. "All right, you kill him, but then I won't bring you a wife." The Indian looked at him for a long time, then slowly put his knife away. "No touch. Give word. You give word. Take Little Bear to school. Take to plastic. Let Little Bear choose own woman." Omri considered. He could keep Little Bear in his pocket all day. No need to take any chances. If he were tempted to show the other children, well, he must have to resist that temptation, that was all. And after school, he could take him to Yap's in the boxes of plastic figures. Them were in the corner, the high stand, provided that there weren't too many others kids in the shop that might be able to give Little Bear a quick look at the Lady Indians before he bought one, which would be a very good thing. Otherwise, he might pick one too old or too ugly without realizing it. It was so hard to see from that tiny little plastic faces what they looked like when they came to life. "Okay, then. I'll take you, but you must do as I tell you, and you must not make any noise." He put them down in the seat tray, gently shooed the horse up the ramp. Little Bear tied it to the post, and Omri gave it some rat food, and then he crawled on his hands and knees to where the cowboy was sitting, dolefully on the carpet. His horse's rein looped around his arm, looking miserable to move. "What's the matter?" Omri asked. The little man didn't look up. "Lost my hat," he mumbled. "Oh, that's all." Omri reached over to the backboard, pulled the pin-like arrow out of the wide brim of the hat. "Here it is," he said kindly, laying it in the cowboy's lap. The cowboy looked at it, looked up at Omri, and then stood up and put on the hat. "You sure ain't no regular hallucination," he said. "I'm much obliged to you." Suddenly, he laughed. "Just imagine thinking a piece of your delirium treating you for fine giving your hat back and just can't figure out what's going on around here. Say, are you real? Or was that Injun real? 'Cause in case you ain't noticed, you dang bit bigger than he is. You can't both be real." "I don't think you ought to worry about it. What's your name?" The cowboy seemed embarrassed and he hung his head. "My name's Boone, but the fellows call me Boo-Hoo. That's 'cause on account of I cry so easy. I'm a soft heart. Show me someone sad, or scare me just a little, and the tears just come from my eyes. I can't help it." Omri, who had been somewhat a crybaby himself until very recently, was not inclined to be scornful about this and said, "It's okay. Only you needn't be scared of me. And as for the Indian, he's my friend and he won't hurt you. He's promised. Now I'd like you and your horse to go back into that big crate. I'll stick the knot back into the wood. You'll feel safer, and then I'll get you some breakfast." Boone brightened visibly at this. "What would you like?" "Aw, shucks, ain't that hungry. Couple bits of steak, 3 or 4 eggs, sitting on a small heap of beans, washed down with a jug of coffee. That'll suit me just dandy." "Yeah, you'll be lucky," thought Omri.